So for our week 3 HTML code along chapters 6 through 9, here's how you want to think about this when you're approaching the work. Now I have open already in a separate tab the instruction. I also will talk about these two other links here, and of course you're watching the video. In addition, I have my private repo open, and this is really important. When you're coding the code alongs, remember those are only between you and I. So those should only be in the private repo. If you code in the public repo, I do count off for that because it's not the intention, okay? So I've already gone over how to set up this w3_html folder and how to reference the images, so you should be good to go there. I already have my live server going, and I've got live reloading happening, so I'm all good there. So let's look at the instruction. Now, in this case, this is just going over what I just talked about. Do remember, in these Markdown files, and you're going to learn more about Markdown this week, I'm going to require some additional things, but in this case, and I need to do some more research here, I should probably do that, but whenever you see links, which you'll see a couple in this file, always right click and open in a new tab. Otherwise, it'll take you off page, and what that means is it will close the page you're on and open that in that same tab, and sometimes you want that, sometimes you don't. Most of the time for my work you don't. Okay, so in week 6, we're working with images. I'm not a surprise, that's why I had you set that up. You're going to copy some images from Dave's folder, and I've actually provided a link to Dave's folder. So here it is, right click, open in a new tab. Here are the images. Was there 3? I thought there was 2. Anyway, I'm going to right click, save. Now, there's a couple ways to do this. I would, in this case, actually open the image. I should have shown that first, and then right-click, save image as. And then navigate to the folder. For in this case, it'd be images. And then notice you're not changing anything about the extension here. You're just hitting save. And then if you come back, you will actually see that in here. Okay, notice that the naming convention for the files follows what I want. Okay, so that's what you want to do there, right? And then code along. Remember, use that source reference that we showed in there. But when Dave does, basically, I think he creates a different image folder, but ours is different. Same file names, just make sure your image is in there. Now, really important information here about below the fold, lazy loading, and then using dev tools. And yes, I do want you to do the 150 BRs there. Now, here's the thing where I'm starting to be a little more specific about the README file. And the thing is, when you copied over from your week 2 that README file, yes, you do keep everything that you had before in there, because the idea is every time we create a new folder, then we're building up that README file so that it becomes your reference. And remember, you're writing this with my specifications, but also in a way that will help you remember. Okay? And I also talk about doing a heading 1. Now, just FYI, just to show you, heading 1 is exactly that. So if you do this, now I actually give you specific headings I want you to do, but you can also use the little, I guess this is the search, but it actually just renders as an HTML or a Markdown file in VS Code. So that you have that, right? So in this case, I want one about images and then include notes about best practices and what you've learned. Now, commit messages. So for this one, I've reorganized this file to be a little more concise. So when you see commit messages, ooh, I need to refresh this because I've actually updated this already. What I do say is validate your HTML, complete the Git workflow, and commit with this message, okay? So it's really important before every commit you validate your code. Now that's why I want you to do it before you commit. So then you continue to code, right? Learning about the all-important fig and fig cap. Man, these are so important. And again, and then sometimes I actually, because I think Dave does it as well, is validate your code. Should always do that. He talks of really some tools and resources so important here. Again, update your README file. By the way, in the instruction, I also provided a markdown cheat sheet just to show you, because I want you to learn how to, you're learning how to code ordered list, right? You're learning these things, but also you can do this in markdown. We're learning how to do it in full markup, but in this industry, markdown is a very commonly used file for or syntax that you use. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to close that one out. And in here, we're back now talking again, validate your code, complete the workflow. And again, that's why I have you create that Get Help file in case you ever forget the steps to do. But by this time, you've probably done enough times, you're starting to get used to it. Now, the all-important Chapter 7 was semantic tags. I tell you, I've been around web development a long time, and it wasn't until I started seriously teaching it that I even understood some of these topics about semantics and the importance of using these tags. I think it's become hopefully more commonplace, but I still meet people today who, when I talk about semantic tags, they look at me like I'm crazy. But that's okay. You won't be one of those people because you're going to learn about this. Now, the thing about this, and Dave talks about a tool. Now, the tool he's going to talk about, I did a little searching on chat today just to ask it kind of what are some of these best tools, and some of these weren't even out there. So I'm like, and I've never heard of Lighthouse doing it, which is part of Chrome Dev Tools. So I'm like, okay, here's what I use and what Dave will show. Is that in the Chrome Web Store, you can just search for HTML5 outliner and install it. Now, you don't have to, because he also shows you another way just to send your file and get this nice outline, because this will become very important when we're doing project work to not have this kind of untitled here. But let me show you just how this works. Like if I came over here, I already have the extension, and if I click here, then I get that outline. And in this case, we've only used the H, before we start into the 3, we've only used and really our H's, our H1s, and you can navigate the page by doing this. So I like this. I remember when I first installed it, though, because I had so much loaded, I had to actually figure out a way to make it show up. But if you need help, let me know. Okay, so make sure you get it, because it will be part of what you need to understand. And boy, is this commentary on divs and spans. The divitis and the spanitis is a real thing. We're trying to move away from them when writing good HTML. So again, update your README files, semantic tags, put some in, summarize Dave's all important guidelines. So important. Validate, complete, and ready to go. Like before, I'm offering this break. But here's the key. You gotta have done the work up to this point. And what I do when you take this break is I actually look at your work and give you any feedback. So that's the other benefit of taking the break. Now, if you want to code all the way through, it's really up to you. You have to figure out if you're able to retain the information, because we always will turn around and use it. Right? So now I put this caveat in there, but if for some reason, you're trying to just catch up, if you complete it by the Thursday night, which is our review due night, and by the time I wake up Friday morning, it's only 10% off. But I don't say it as an encouragement. I just try to be more flexible, something I'm not always good at. Okay, so Chapter 8, tables. Oh, such a great topic, right? Learning how to build tables, add some basic CSS to tables, messages as commit messages, using dev tools. Again, if you don't know how to use dev tools, you're going to learn this. Right click, inspect, right? And this, all browsers, now I say generally you should use Chrome, but all browsers have something like this. I have just found Chrome, and Google has really invested in Chrome dev tools, and you can just navigate the page to see where these things, when you're rolling over something, you can see that highlighted on the page. There's a ton of great stuff here, but I'm going to drop out. Okay, so validate, I already talked about this. Semantics. Oh yeah, so we do have semantic also related to tables, right? Again, update your notes here. Chapter 9, the last one. Oh, the forms, learning how to create forms. It's just fundamental because everywhere you interact with anything, it's generally a form, right? And learning how to code them, so important. Update your README, do your extra inputs, do a couple of updates here because we cover forms for this whole section. You learn the field set. And remember, what I do when I grade your work is I pull your work into my local system. I validate. So don't wait till the end. The other thing is, if you're waiting till the end, right, to validate, it may have a ton of errors, and trying to find them can be a pain because one error can cause what's called almost a cascade of other errors, and it's trying to figure out which one caused the problem. Then I like that Dave shows how to actually submit using something that's kind of fun so you can at least see what those inputs look like. Okay, that's it. And then remember, this is how I grade. Commits are so important, right? Having all the code in there, way important. Making sure you're indexed. Now, by the way, I didn't even talk about the CSS validation. We'll talk about that because we're starting CSS very soon. All right, time for me to work on the review. Hope this helps you understand. Please reach out for help if you need it.